This is an interesting question. I was not aware of any such restriction at all.
The backstory is we have this large client that we've had for a couple of years, anywhere from 3.5 to $4.5 million in monthly volume. And we're working on building a custom solution for them to allow for surcharging through a virtual terminal environment.
Okay.
They are, what they would like to do though is they would like to be able to pick and choose which customers they apply that surcharge to. Now they're B2B, and
Okay.
I'll kind of give you a caveat to it, but they're B2B, and they're a supplier of it's industrial supplies. The vast majority of their clients are large clients, large purchases. Moto, they place the order over the phone
Sure.
into mostly their corporate office, but some, they got 40 different field offices.
Okay.
They place the order over the phone. They send it in. They send the supplies to wherever the
Sure.
customers. Then they also have a significant portion of in-person where these individuals walk into their locations. They're
Okay.
much smaller customers and
Sure.
customers they feel like they could get away with, applying the surcharge. So I say that to say there is a difference, in where I feel like sometimes this is going to leak over, so it won't be 100%. But let's just roll
Right.
with that in the beginning. Like in the beginning, it's literally going to be the people in person that
Right.
are making purchases versus the moto. They apply the in-person, the
Sure.
surcharge, but not on the moto. We're going to set up two separate mids, and I won't name any names, but I talked
Yeah.
to some people in this industry who are, know their way around surcharging, and I'd given a similar scenario to them some months back about another client
Yeah.
where they had essentially said to me, "Hey, you can make an exception with Visa if um, a particular client is unwilling to pay the surcharge. So say they're so big, they're Amazon. Amazon
Sure.
was an example. You can
Sure.
charge all your clients except for Amazon because Amazon won't allow it. So let's say it's contractually
Right.
they won't allow it, and you can make that exception. But I'm real concerned when you're dealing with clients this large for me to take the stance. Yes, you can use a surcharge in mid for your in-person purchases, but not your
Wow. This is an interesting question, and maybe it's one that I need to do a little more research on before giving a full response. My understanding when I'm reading the visa rules and talking to industry people, I was not aware of any such restriction at all. So just to clarify, we're talking about surcharging. We're not talking about cash discounting, right?
That is right. And see, my understanding, to jump in real quick, is that my understanding was that, if you apply to one, you have to apply to all. Unlike with cash discount, you don't have to do that, but you
Well,
don't.
actually, I will tell you, most of the industry actually looks at that the other way around, actually. So the idea is with cash discounting, that's where you can run into issues where you're literally telling them, hey, if you pay with cash, you're going to pay a less, you're going to get a cash discount. So there's actually a lot of people on the cash discount side that say, well, that's why it's very rare to see the waive the fee option. Now
Mhm,
it's becoming more accepted, and I'm a big proponent of it. But initially, even that was kind of questionable.
mhm,
With surcharging, so let's back up for a second. So first of all, again, whenever we're talking about compliance, my answer is always, compliant with what or compliant with who, right? Are we talking about the government? Are we talking about Visa and MasterCard, right? So at the federal level, there is definitely, I mean, I hate to say that, I'm not an attorney. This is not legal advice, but I am not aware of any federal or even state regulations that, if a state allows surcharging,
mhm.
that means they are allowing the merchant at their sole discretion to add a surcharge to a transaction whenever they wish. I mean, I don't know of any restriction there. So I don't think this is a government thing. So now we're talking about Visa, MasterCard rules.
Right.
And again, my reading of them, and it's definitely possible, it's been a while, maybe I missed it. My understanding is that, of course, you can't do a surcharge on prepaid or debit.
Sure.
But as a general rule, I definitely have not heard of a single instance of Visa and MasterCard taking compliance action for a merchant that's not surcharging everyone. And
Good.
I do know of a lot of merchants that are set up the way you're talking about, where it's a dual mid setup. So
Good.
it's definitely not a big red flag, hot button issue for the card brands. I know that for sure. Is it a contractual problem? Well, there's where it's a bit of a gray area. I will go back in and look at that, but I'll give you an example. If you just Google surcharging rules Visa, right?
Mhm,
You're going to come to that URL that Visa set up where they educate people about surcharging.
right.
if you look at that, you will see that there's actually there's nothing on there that, really talks about the importance of you got to charge everybody. So,
Okay.
it's definitely not something that they're really promoting. There might be some really detailed legal language in the Visa and MasterCard rules that I missed on my read through. But my understanding is it's not a problem. You can do a dual mid. In fact, like I say, I'm under I have the assumption that you can actually even set it up to where it's not even dual mid, just have the technology solution provide the ability to waive the surcharge when you want to because of whatever. And I think the other part of this is too, even if Visa and MasterCard did have some kind of rules, prohibiting that or something, that would be extremely difficult to enforce because ultimately, how do you enforce that, right? Like you mentioned, well, this is a really big customer or this is a really good customer.
Mhm.
Well, so you're allowed to give them a better deal because they're a good customer, but not because they're an upset customer? Like,
Right.
well, if you're allowed to give them a different deal, you're allowed to give them a different deal. So I think ultimately, I have never had anybody ask me that question directly before, but my opinion, well, I'll be interested. You know what I'll do when we
Yeah.
post this video, we'll see what kind of comments we get.
Okay.
I will be interested to see what comments we get, but yeah, my understanding would be, it just doesn't matter. I don't think that's a problem at all. I think the idea is you can't surcharge certain card types, but that doesn't mean you have to surcharge all the credit cards.
That's great news. And as you're saying that, I realize I'm recalling, I was basing this whole conversation off what I remembered that I knew, and the
Right.
guy we're talking to, I guess the guy
Right.
I've been talking to primarily sort of was going along with it, but I never pushed him. I wonder if he was going with me too. So maybe it's some confusion on my end from
Yeah, I
some.
don't know. It definitely. I will tell you today at some point I'm gonna be going and reading it again because it's been a
I
little
have
while
to.
since I bet it's been 24 months since I actually read the language in the required contractual language about surcharging that's required by the card brands.
Mm.
So I'll go back and read it again. Maybe I missed something, but yeah, I'm not aware of any such restriction at all. Hey everybody, I hope you really enjoyed this question and answer session. I thought I would add a video onto the end of it later where I actually answer the question. So after jumping off, both this individual I did the question and answer session with and myself, we went back and looked at Visa rules. And our conclusion was not only is there nothing that says you can't discriminate, but quite to the contrary, there's actually specific Visa rules that say you can. In terms of reward cards, you can charge a different surcharge than other cards, things like that. So our understanding of it is you definitely can do it. But again, I'm not an attorney. This is not legal advice. And so I'm really excited to post this one publicly to kind of see what conversation we strike up and what people say we can actually do with surcharging, whether or not you can discriminate and do surcharge on some, but not on others. So thanks again so much for taking time to watch this video. Hope you enjoyed it.